I was going to ask you the creative process you took to create the series. It might be a good time to talk about optic visualization and how a piece comes to be.
Yes. So whenever I paint, and haptic visualization, it just means like you're using your sense of touch to visualize. So and I use that whenever I'm understanding a subject. You know, like if I want to paint Zook, I'd feel his face, and I go like, okay, I see what you look like now. But then when I'm drawing, I can make lines that I can touch and feel. And when I first started, they had to be giant, thick lines. But now, my sense of touch has gotten to the point where I can count like the threads on jeans. Like it's gotten very, very good, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
And so now when I draw, it can be very thin line, and so but it has to be something I can touch and feel. So whenever I'm making a painting, it's almost like making a small sculpture, like a very, very, very thin sculpture, and then I can use different textures for colors. So I'll mix different additives, different mediums in with my paint, so that I can make white feel different than red feel different than blue.
And what kind of things do you pour into your paint?
For this series, I used all acrylics. I love acrylics. Right. And there's all these different additives, different mediums that you can get for acrylic paints. And then some of them I kind of make myself because I need them to be a little bit different. But like you can get additives so that'll make the paint so thick you can carve it with a knife or work like clay. Others that'll make them kind of slimy or thin or milky or whatever it is you want. Mm-hmm. And then there's one though that I started drawing with that I use for this series quite a bit, where I take a golden carbon black, which has a high flow medium mixed into it. Then I take a Liquitex high flow medium and I mix that into it. Then I take a Liquitex varnish and I mix that into it. And end up with this paint where...
You're like a scientist.
Yeah, mad scientist in there. Yeah, we've definitely had some explosions in the lab where I mix like, oh, that wasn't supposed to go with that. But it makes this paint where it's almost like a rubber cement, but it dries instantly. But it leaves a little bit of a raised line. Mm-hmm. So it was just like, And then if you don't like it, you can mix you can just put a little bit of a thin layer of other paint over it, real thin, and it goes away.
Wow.
So it's just,
cool.
I love that stuff. So it's all just touch. Sounds hard, but I do workshops where we blindfold people, and in 5 or 10 minutes, I can show somebody the basics.